Shalom. First and foremost, above all things, I want to give all praises and honor and glory that's definitely due to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Kadash. I'm from the Prophets in Babylon out of the Waco, Texas camp, affiliated with the branch of Prophets in Babylon, Tampa Bay, Florida. I'm your brother Atiak. I'd like to give a special double honors to the elders and apostles on down at Great Millstone. And peace and salutations to the elect. May the blessing of election be upon your household and you sincere brothers and you sisters out there. And lesson for today: don't let these women distract you from this ministry. And Lord willing, I hope and pray that this will be edifying. So for brothers that are in this ministry, attaining this knowledge, growing in the spirit, be thankful, because it's Yahweh Bashem Yahushai who has called you into this to get the understanding, and you've been calling in the most important work of all. You're men that have been called in this ministry, and this is the most important thing on the earth right now, being called into this ministry. Now, of course, we don't know if we're of the elect, but Lord willing, we are. But the only proof of that will be, as spoken of in Matthew chapter 24 and 13, where he that endured till the end shall be saved. So, Lord willing, we're those ones that'll endure to the end. But in the meantime, you have some who are falling out, because as time gets worse and worse out here, it's gonna, as this old saying goes, you're gonna see, men fall out. And a lot of times, you can fall out behind a woman, and you can't let that happen, man, no matter what, because this should be your first love right here. This truth and knowledge that we have obtained should be your goal, man, to keep pursuing it. This knowledge is compared to a woman. So with that woman, that's the real true lady. These women out here that brothers are dealing with are defiled, and especially, and speaking as a brother of age, not in this truth and knowledge, because I still consider myself as a babe learning this, but as an older man, it's like the song by Houdini called "One Love," and the rapper Jalil, he says, I've had many women in my day, but just like the wind, they've all blown away. And so you have to understand that these women come and go. There are some women that are meant to stay, to kind of always somewhere around. And then you have some women that just, they're around for a while and then they leave. And hey, bro, it's easy to be fond of certain women. We all can be in that spirit. Give an example. Jacob, he had a strong love for Rachel, right? But at the end of the day, he had to, get with Rachel's older sister after working 7 years, he was promised, by Laban, the father, that he was gonna get Rachel, but instead he ended up getting the older sister. Forgive me, I can't think of the older sister's name right. Oh, Leah. And so, Salakia for that noise there. But anyway, Salakia. He had to do. He ended up marrying Leah, and so there must be a fire somewhere. See the fire truck. Let it pass by right quick. Salakia for the noise. There's always something going on in Satan's kingdom, right? Or Esau's kingdom. But anyway, that's a part of the fight. But anyway, he ended up being with Leah at first, right? And so actually he had to work like 14 years before he could get with Rachel, because Leah was the oldest. And being Leah was the oldest, Leah had to be the first to be married. So Laban gave Leah over to Jacob. So, but what I'm trying to say is, we have certain women that we care about a lot more than we care about others that we've dealt with. But we can't let the ones that we care about so much get in the way of this ministry, man. This first love of this ministry is our first love. This is what we should be forever chasing, because it holds the crown of life, man. And like I say again, these women come and go, and you have to, understand that. Going to the scriptures, this is the book of Amos, chapter 7 and verse 17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. Yeah, and this is what you see in these modern times. This is what the prophet Amos prophesied through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, that our wives would be harlots in this time. So, and it's true, because the women you're dealing with, the brothers are dealing with, what have you, they've been with other men. So that makes them as harlots. So it's not wise to take these women too seriously, to understand that, hey, she could leave you at any time, because in this society, this is what they promote. They promote a woman to go and be with other men. When you think about it, classic example, here in America, they're always pushing education, for a female to go get an education. You go to school, then the next thing they tell you, well, you need to go to college. And then basically college is basically a place to where, they're really fully introduced to whoredom. Women being with women, women engaging in getting trains ran on them and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And all this stuff to try to be in a to fit in a certain circle, certain circles and stuff of that nature. So they're basically giving you a lot of the wicked things to do. And this is one of the biggest places where females become defiled. You know, but overall, we can't take these women seriously at all, man. Understand that, hey, this truth and knowledge, this is what comes first, man. And finish this off, I'm gonna go into Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3, and I'll start here in verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which means He is or He exists. And then you have the Son's name, which is Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai means He that delivers. With all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths. Yeah, so we have to trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai fully, and lean not upon our understanding, and He will direct our paths in the righteous way, man. Now, skipping down here to Proverbs chapter 13, because we was talking about this earlier, about this truth and knowledge. This wisdom is this truth and knowledge that we've been attaining. Verse 13 of Proverbs chapter 3. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. Yeah, so being called into this ministry, having an understanding of this truth and knowledge is a blessing, and it's far greater than any precious stones like gold and silver, that's highly regarded in this world. Not every man has been called in to understand this, but we've been called in. So, being that we've been called in, we have to make the most of it, man. Fully take advantage of this understanding in a righteous way. When I say take advantage, I mean in a righteous way. To learn as much as we can, man, to continue to grow. When you come into this truth and knowledge, your thing is to continue to grow, not to stay stagnant, but to grow, continuing to gain this knowledge and to grow and to mature, man, And so we have something that these people out here don't have. So when the big change comes, and as the shift hits, as they say, shit hit the fan, the shift, that's when these people are gonna lose it. But with us, with this knowledge, we're gonna be able to sustain. The scriptures tell you in Isaiah chapter 33 and 6 that wisdom and knowledge shall be with this wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability during those times. See, these other people out here, they ain't gonna have that. These churches that they go to, if they go to any churches, it's not gonna give them any comfort. but we have this wisdom and knowledge, and it's going to give us that comfort and the understanding of what's going on out here. They're not going to know. They got they and they can't say they hadn't gotten their chances, but to know, because you have men that go out every weekend doing this work, man. You got brothers on several platforms, mainly YouTube, bringing out this truth and knowledge, on a daily basis, constantly blowing the horn, that trumpet. So there's no excuse, you know. And it's like the scriptures say, because you have rejected knowledge, basically I will reject you, roughly paraphrasing. So a lot of these people have refused this knowledge. You think about it. When you first come in, you're so excited. And not understanding that scripture where it says, do not cast thy pearls to swine, and you saw it, but you're excited, but you have to understand that this truth and knowledge is not for everyone, so you've been called into a special work. So praise Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai for that, and like I say, we have to continue to endure, and hope and pray to the end that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai would deliver us, bro, because there have been many men that have come into this thing that are on a high level and have fallen out. We seen that. You seen the guy with the guys in Mississippi. I mean, this guy was actually over a camp, and now he's preaching something that goes contrary to what he's been taught. So things of that nature have to these are some of the offenses that have to occur for us brothers to see and realize, is a fearful thing to fall into the hand of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. And basically that's where they at. They're in the hand of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai because they have been rejected. So we can't let personal friendships that we have with brothers, like the brother was saying yesterday in GMS, Kansas City Prophets. And the brother was bringing out that, you've had brothers that we have swung swords with have turned, and we have to be instantly be in the mindset that as much as you love that brother, as much as you considered him as a friend and a brother, that once he starts talking crazy, you got to let him go. It's just like a dog that's been bitten by that's been bitten by something that, by another animal with rabies. That dog is going to turn on you. So it's best you get rid of that dog, you know what I mean? And so the same thing with these men who go back into the world, man. You have to turn your head away from them, turn aside from them and leave them the hell alone. And I know that personally because it was a guy that I learned the truth from, some of the truth. He was all over the place. But through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, he used him to bring me into this truth and knowledge, even though I was, first learning through IUIC, the basic things. But then there were some things that didn't set right with me, and I would ask him about it, and he would, give me some whatever explanation, but it didn't set right with me. But he was all over the place, and he sent me a video, meaning that he was listening to other people outside of IUIC, and he sent me some videos of GMS. And so I started listening to more and more to GMS, and I was telling him, hey man, you're gonna bug out if we don't, listen to one group and one group only. And I told him finally, hey, I'm gonna, listen to GMS because they make more sense, And so, that greatly affected our friendship because we were friends over 30 years, man. I looked at this guy like he was my brother, and this is before I even came into the knowledge, you know. But he wasn't right, man. He was, you know, he wasn't calling on the correct names. He was hollering Yah and, you know, all that kind of mess, you know what I'm saying? And it was, I wasn't in I wasn't on the level that I'm on now. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a braggadocious way, but I have more knowledge coming, you know, compared to what I did back then, which was, I say, maybe 3 years ago. And so I realized that, hey, I have to disassociate from this guy, you know. And he was saying certain things that were derogatory. I'm not going to go into. It's not important. But, you know, you have to make up your mind that, hey, man, you know, nobody's more important than this truth and knowledge, man. Be willing to let these people go at the drop of a dime. If they're not calling on Yahweh Shem Yahushai, if they're bringing certain things that are negative to what we're doing, you got to let them go, man. You know, it's like a cancer. You have to cut it out, you know. So, Lord willing, I hope and pray that this was an edifying lesson. And Salakia, I know I was kind of all over the place, but, you know, I'll just say it like this. It was all through the Spirit. But I hope you were edified. And once again, I want to give all praises and honor and glory that's definitely due to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Rakak Radash. Special double honors to the elders and apostles on down at Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Until the next time, Lord willing, I'll say shalom.